100,000 tons of nuclear-powered steel tearing through the open ocean. This hull carries an entire city's worth of infrastructure and lethal firepower. The U.S. Navy's Ford-class carriers are the largest warships ever built. At 1,092 feet long, they match the Eiffel Tower laid flat. The massive flight deck fits 3 professional football fields, plus 75 strike aircraft and a 5,000-person crew. And because it runs on twin nuclear reactors, this floating fortress can sail the globe continuously for 20 years without ever needing to pull into port for fuel. But here is the catch. As massive and lethal as these supercarriers are, they are entirely dwarfed by the true giants of the sea. The title of the largest moving object ever built by human hands belongs to an oil tanker constructed in the late 1970s, the Seawise Giant. Compared side by side, the 1,500-foot Seawise Giant makes a supercarrier look like a speedboat. But the true difference is displacement. To match the Seawise Giant's astonishing 825,000 tons, you would have to stack 7 Ford-class carriers on top of each other. It was so incredibly long that if you stood on its bow, the stern would literally vanish over the horizon. The curvature of the Earth itself hid the other end of the ship. Which brings up an interesting question. If major militaries operate with nearly unlimited budgets, why is the largest vessel on the planet built to carry crude oil instead of weapons? The answer comes down to purpose. A commercial supertanker has a singular, simple job: haul as much dead weight as physically possible across an ocean. Warships, however, are engineered for speed, agility, and survival in hostile environments. You cannot scale up a carrier infinitely. The hull requires incredibly dense, heavy armor plating. The internal structure must endure the massive kinetic stress of launching and recovering supersonic jets every few minutes, all while housing complex nuclear reactors deep below the waterline. This creates an enormous logistical footprint. Even at their current size, these vessels require intense maintenance, specialized docking facilities, and fleets of tugboats just to navigate out of port. So while militaries sacrifice the sheer bulk of an oil tanker, their massive flat-deck warships represent the most complex engineering feats in human history. And right now, countries around the world are racing to build their own. The United States maintains a heavy lead in global naval size, operating a fleet of 11 active nuclear-powered aircraft carriers. But China is rapidly closing the gap. The People's Liberation Army Navy now operates the largest number of total naval vessels in the world, with a fleet of over 840 ships. Their newest crown jewel is the Fujian. At over 80,000 tons, it is the largest carrier ever built in Asia. While it runs on conventional fuel oil instead of nuclear power, it features advanced electromagnetic catapults, a highly complex launch technology that even the US only recently perfected. Russia takes a different approach. Their only active aircraft carrier, the Admiral Kuznetsov, sits at a much smaller 58,000 tons and is plagued by mechanical issues and old age. Russia compensates with specialized heavyweights like the Kirov-class battlecruisers. At over 827 feet long, these nuclear-powered vessels operate as massive, modern missile battleships. European powers are projecting their own sea power too. The United Kingdom operates the massive 65,000-ton Queen Elizabeth class, while France deploys the nuclear-powered Charles de Gaulle. Across Asia, nations are investing heavily in flat-deck ships. Japan is converting its huge Izumo-class helicopter destroyers to launch F-35 fighter jets, and India commands the seas with its 896-foot Vikramaditya. Look closely at this worldwide distribution of naval giants, and a clear pattern emerges. Raw military tonnage is the universally recognized currency of global influence. Beyond the engineering specs, we must look at what these machines represent on the open ocean. Legally, an aircraft carrier is floating sovereign territory. It is a massive, mobile piece of a nation's air force that can be parked right off the coast of any continent, completely legally in international waters. A single Nimitz-class carrier can launch over 120 strike missions in a single day, loaded with precision-guided weapons. The operating nation never has to ask a host country for permission to use an airstrip. Furthermore, a supercarrier never travels alone. It's the heavily defended nerve center of a battle group, flanked by cruisers, destroyers, submarines, and supply ships. By positioning these giants near critical maritime choke points, a nation can protect or sever the shipping lanes that carry most of the world's trade. This ability to secure global commerce routes means the country with the strongest fleet can dictate international terms without ever needing to fire a shot. Commercial supertankers quietly keep the world economy moving, but when the rules of that economy are challenged, massive warships serve as the ultimate hammer. And as long as nations compete for the seas, the race to build the biggest, most lethal